Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order, please. Item 2 is adjustments to the agenda. Do we have any adjustments?
With council's permission, given that our new business looks relatively simple, I was going to suggest we move item 4, the submission of the budget, to after 5E, council approval for transfer of funds, so we can get all the small business out of the way first.
Can we call that 5E1, Brian?
5E1 is fine by me.
Okay, thank you.
Do I have a motion to that effect?
I'll make that motion. I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilor Dana Cummings,
Yes.
Councilor Moran,
Yes.
Councilor Seeley, Councilor Stevens,
Yes.
Councilor Boone.
Yes.
Fiona's not here.
He's not here.
No.
People would stop ordering on Amazon.
Further adjustments to the agenda?
I have one correction to the agenda. Under item D and E, the account numbers are reversed. They should be just the opposite as they appear. So it'll be, for item D, it'll be from account number, okay, from account number G6101-00 to G1-101-00, and item E should be from account G3-101-00 to G1-101-00. My apologies for the oversight.
Do I have a motion to that effect?
I'll make the motion. I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilor Dana Cummings,
Yes.
Councilor Moran,
Yes.
Councilor Stevens,
Yes.
Councilor Boone.
Yes. Any further adjustments to the agenda?
I have nothing further.
Council, everything? All good?
I'm good.
All right. Item 3, council approval of the 2025 community events requested by Joan Loudon. Down East Pride, June 28, 2025, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Mermaid Festival and Parade, August 2nd, 2025, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastport Salmon and Seafood Festival, August 29th through the 31st, 2025. Witches of Eastport, October 25th, 2025, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.
I'm here if there are any questions. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. I forget which one it is. The one just before 4th of July. I don't have my other glasses, so it's hard for me to see.
Pride on the 28th.
Down East
Yeah,
Pride.
so last year, I know there was an issue. Is that been resolved, or is that?
Well, we have had Down East Pride the last weekend of June for the last 4 years, and it hadn't been a problem. It's always the Saturday. Normally, they would set up the stage Sunday or Monday, but they started setting up the stage for 4th of July on Friday, the 27th. And I think as long as they know that they need to wait till after Saturday, it should be fine.
Yeah, just as long as everybody's on board, I'm good
I
with
should
it.
probably, I think you can go ahead and approve that today, but I should make a point of talking to, I used to be Tommy and Earl, because they were who I ended up dealing with last time, and making sure there's no obvious problem. The 4th is on the Friday, which means, we could be starting on candidates the 1st, right? That's the Monday. So we're really, if we want the stage up by the 1st, we have to do it that Sunday, rain or shine.
I
So-
checked with Howie too, Brian.
Yes, of course, and Howie as well. So I think, as long as we talk about it, I think the biggest problem last year was there was an assumption that
There was
they'd
an
be able to get
assumption that
in.
there was nothing going on that
Yeah.
Saturday,
So-
even though it had been approved in advance and everything. I think we talked about having a better procedure for.
Right, but, and to be clear, part of the issue here is, it's just that, you know, the moving stuff is being done by Tommy and the folks at Logistec and whoever can get together. And so I'm going to make sure, so long as we know ahead of time, a little part of what happened, I think that made it difficult was just everyone's donating their time.
Yeah,
And then
everybody's
stuff wouldn't get done.
volunteering.
And on both sides.
Yeah.
So I will make sure to speak with them as soon as I can. And if there is a problem, I'll come to you, Joan, and we'll see what we need to do to resolve it.
Yeah, because the first would be Tuesday.
Yes, you're right, I have two different calendars, one's based on Sunday.
Yeah,
based
so
on Monday,
if we have
So that's
Saturday,
actually-
the
yes, I'm
first
sorry.
is Tuesday, even if they set up that Monday, the 30th, 29th or 30th, which is what we've always done in the past.
My other concern too is we only have 2 public works people right now, and I just want to make sure that everybody's thinking
Yeah,
of
so I
that,
will talk,
keeping
so I
that
have
in
to talk to
mind.
Tommy and Howie. And I guess I need to talk with Howie in general about, I'm somewhat less concerned about some of these, and if we're still down to 2 people at the 4th, we're going to have to figure something out.
We don't know what the schedule is for the 4th of July yet, man.
I've not
It's
received it.
almost always the same though.
Yeah, but I meant in terms of,
Yeah.
Dates.
So I'll make the motion that we approve all these dates that are requested.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the motion?
I'd just like to thank Joan for putting all the time that she does into these festivals. It's really appreciated, Joan.
It's my pleasure,
Thank you.
usually.
Wow, that's an afterthought. Roll call, please.
Counselor Dana Cummings,
Yes.
Counselor Moran,
Yes.
Counselor Stevens,
Abstain?
Counselor Boone.
Yes. We're on to item 5, new business. 5A, appointment of council liaison to Digital Equity Committee. I'm going to assume no councilor turned in their name for this position yet?
not yet. We left it with us finding out how often they met. And Doug and I are working on a sheet that'll assist you guys on what days of the week or the month they meet, times and locations. We should have that within the next few days. But my understanding, I reached out to Bertie today, and she said that they meet the second Wednesday of the month at 11 a.m., and it's by Zoom.
This would be a very clear example to Councilor Seeley for missing meetings. I guess we could nominate him.
He's not going to be able to go.
I know.
Go, I'm in the same position.
He could Zoom. No, I know. I can't do it. Well, the same thing Dave would like to jump into, or he'd rather not. I don't know.
I'm gonna be tied up for the next month or two, so
Yeah,
maybe after, if no one takes it, I'll jump into it.
If you want to revisit it.
we just table it until at least the next meeting.
Just see where I'm at, then.
And if it becomes an issue, well, I guess we're going to have to look at perhaps want to change their time and date, because
Right,
most of us are working. It's hard.
okay.
It's hard
All right,
But-
so we'll table it until the next month, give the opportunity to Council Seeley and I guess address it then.
Yeah, that's all we can do.
All right, so I would like a motion, or if you could render a motion to table it, that would be appreciated.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Then moved and seconded to table item 5A until a later date, or do you want to do it next month?
Later date.
Later date. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Counselor Dana Cummings,
Yes.
Counselor Moran,
Yes.
Counselor Stevens,
Yes.
Counselor Boone.
Yes. 5B, council approval of reappointments and or new members to boards and committees. 5B1, reappointments to the Digital Equity Committee, Subcommittee of the Fiber Committee. Elaine Abbott, Bertie Velveteen, Joshua Nicholson,
Nicholson.
and Laura Pratty. 5B2, new appointments to the Eastport Energy Committee, Pat Christopher. 5B3, new appointments to the Eastport Housing Committee, Andrew Jeffrey, Lori Stone, Sam Brittany Pottle, Gunther Valentine. And 5B4, reappointments to the Budget Committee, Don Bailey, Victoria Gans, David Greco, Jeannie Smith, Rachel Williams.
I motion that we reappoint all of those and the new appointments.
Second it.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Councilor Dana Cummings?
Yes.
Councilor Moran?
Yes.
Councilor Stevens?
Yes.
Councilor Boone?
Yes. 5C, accept the resignation of Laura Whelan from the Recycling Committee.
I move to accept.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Councilor Dana Cummings?
Yes.
Councilor Moran?
Yes.
Councilor Stevens?
Yes.
Councilor Boone?
Yes. 5D, council approval for transfer of ARPA funds, $145,179.90 as of 1/12/25 from account G6-1-101-00 to account G1-101-00.
And to be clear on this, the ARPA funds have been spent. What happened though is they apparently, when they were received, were placed in their own bank account. And they've been sitting there accumulating interest, but not being, none of the expenditures came out of that account.
And what is an ARPA fund?
COVID money.
Wow.
Yeah. It's
American
all been fully
Rescue
expended.
or something.
All we're asking to do here is sweep this into the general fund and close the unnecessary account.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
They had to be in their own account to begin with.
Oh, they did, they had to be, okay.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Councilor Dana Cummings?
Yes.
Councilor Moran?
Yes.
Councilor Stevens?
Yes.
Councilor Boone?
Yes. 5E, council approval for transfer of funds, $26,521.88 as of 12/31/24 from account G3-101-00 to G1-101-00.
This is similar, this amount is actually the special reserve fund. We will continue to maintain that special reserve fund until we go into something else with it, but it's also being held in its own bank account unnecessarily, for which we're being charged a fee. And so while we'll continue to track this within the other bank account, we want to be able to close that account and just bring this into that account. So similar sort of thing.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Councilor Dana Cummings?
Yes.
Councilor Moran?
Yes.
Councilor Stevens?
Yes.
Councilor Boone?
Yes. Item 5E1 is the budget presented from the city manager. Budget report.
We had copies out here for the public. Council has a copy there. So my presentation today is required by the city charter. The budget process has been irregular the last few years, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to read you some stuff from the charter. At the regularly scheduled council meeting in February of each year, the manager shall submit to the council a draft proposed budget for the ensuing fiscal year and an accompanying message. The city manager's message shall explain the budget and a proposed 3-year plan, both in fiscal terms and in terms of the work programs. It shall outline the proposed financial policies of the city for the ensuing fiscal year, describe important features of the budget, indicate any major changes from the current year in financial policies, expenditures, and revenues, together with the reasons for such changes, summarize the city's debt position, and include other such material as the city manager deems desirable. I'm pleased to present my first budget to the council this evening. This is the fiscal year 2026 budget, which covers the period July 2025 to June 2026. Tonight, I'm merely presenting the budget that will be forwarded to the Budget Committee for the rest of the process. There's no vote required, and any questions or concerns, I'm sure, will be ironed out in the coming months with the committee. This draft budget foresees an increase in taxation of 4.34% from the $3,575,842 budgeted for fiscal year 25 to $3,730,978, an increase of $155,136. This is a minimal budget. I am proposing no additional services. I'm cutting them. There are no significant changes to staffing apart from those we have made in recent months. I propose only those capital projects I think are an immediate need. I've corrected a number of errors, some historical, some my own. After several years of inadequate budget planning, my primary goal is to present an accurate, well-understood budget that allows the city to execute the same mission we have today. The major features of the budget are: I'm budgeting a 2.89% cost of living payroll adjustment citywide. This is the value given for the Consumer Product Urban Index for inflation from January to December of 2024. I've added the half of the 1% tax on payroll imposed for the Maine Paid Leave and Paid Family and Medical Leave Act. The employees of the city pay the other half of that 1% tax. I'm estimating an 8% rise in both health insurance and disability insurance premiums. Utility budgeting. It's very uneven and confusing in the line items within departments, but citywide it is broadly on budget. I have not had time to adjust all those utility lines. Instead, I'm averaging a 4% utility increase citywide, and then we'll figure out the line items later. I have several changes to the administration budget. I've added the hours and staffing for the code enforcement officer and the local plumbing officer positions that we added this fiscal year. I've added the small amount of necessary overtime that's incurred by administration employees. We did not budget for that in fiscal year 25. I corrected an error of mine in the fiscal year 25 budget that didn't budget for a benefit that was elected by an employee. And I am adding a $5,000 line for IT services, which had not been there in the past. Public Works shows a 7% increase, but this is due almost entirely to conservative budgeting for the newly opened position. That will depend on what benefits and whatnot we award to that person. The fire department stipend has been increased by 10% to $33,000. This is in part because stipended fire staff did not receive the cost of living increase adjustment given to other employers in this fiscal year. That was my error. I've increased solid waste by $15,000 to $163,000 to adjust for increased volume and for the change in rates last year. It went from 6 cents to 7 cents, and that was not budgeted in fiscal year 25. The cemetery budget has declined. Fiscal year 25 included a large sum for tree removal, which we've reduced. We do believe there are a couple more trees to go, but there will be far less than we did last year. We've also transferred some of the hours from the cemetery supervisor to the CEO position because that is now held by the cemetery supervisor tab. The city debt payment has increased by $9,967 to $78,036, reflecting the new payments for the police cruiser and the skid steer and the completion of the Deep Cove loan. This does assume payoff of the loan cycle in fiscal year 25 on the used cruiser and the sewer truck, and I'll discuss those payoffs when I discuss the capital budget. The insurance line has declined as the budget amount is just larger than the historic expense of the last few years. Overall, municipal expenses rise 4.25%, or $98,246. In addition to the municipal expenses, a large part of our taxation goes for education and county tax. Education accounts for approximately 50% of taxation, a proportion that's been fairly constant going back 20 years. I'm estimating rises of 7% for education and 18% for county tax. These together add $287,156 to taxation. The county tax increased by 21% this year, but I believe changes in countywide valuation will slightly reduce the impact to Eastport in fiscal year 26, much as it increased the impact in fiscal year 25, where a 14% increase in county tax resulted in a 25% increase to Eastport. The first draft of the school budget is slated to be presented tomorrow, and we will, of course, watch closely how that budget evolves. If I haven't bored you entirely and you're listening carefully, you might have noticed that with municipal expenses rising 4.25%, and with very large rises for the school and county tax, the resulting overall tax increase of 4.34% is actually surprisingly low. That is mostly due to corrections made on the revenue side of the budget, primarily to estimated values for revenue sharing and for personal property tax reimbursement. We were under budgeted significantly for these in fiscal year 25. That will keep the tax rate down this year, but it is a one-time adjustment. The draft budget contains $709,478 in state support. I just wanted to isolate that. We are quite dependent on the money that comes in from the state. This includes homestead and other property tax exemptions, revenue sharing, personal property tax exemptions, park reimbursements, and local road aid. I had hoped to generate a 5-year capital improvement plan as required by the charter, but time did not permit. I do have a draft capital budget. That's not in what they have there, but you guys have it here. It's very brief. The city does not actually have a capital reserve fund. Funding of reserves seems to have fallen by the wayside over the years, and I'm not able to remedy that structural problem at the moment. However, while we don't have an up-to-date audit, we have done trial balances of undesignated funds, and it suggests we have significant resources that should be organized into appropriate reserves in the coming year. As we work through our fiscal year and fiscal year 23 and 24 audit, I'll update the council and the committee with recommendations about how best to reassign these funds. For tonight's purposes, however, in the absence of any dedicated reserve funds, I recommend funding several of these capital projects directly from undesignated funds. The projects are paying off the 2 used vehicles we bought this year, the police cruiser we purchased from Washburn and the sewer truck. These vehicles were financed this fiscal year out of abundant caution, since I did not know what our undesignated funds balance looked like. I now believe they can be reasonably paid off from those funds. These 2 payoffs together will cost approximately $70,000. This will not affect taxation. With council's permission, I may actually consider asking for these payoffs to be made this fiscal year, perhaps in the next meeting or whatever. If I can get more detailed information, I may come to you sooner, and that would take it off the schedule budget. The city is in serious need of property revaluation, as our current valuation ratio is at 65%. In other words, the state believes that a house that we value on our books at $100,000 is more likely worth more like $154,000. This has a disruptive effect on a wide range of state support. The most visible effect is probably on the homestead exemption, which normally removes $25,000 from the valuation of the primary residence of eligible taxpayers. That exemption was reduced to $16,250 this year due to our valuation ratio. In other words, it's 65% of $25,000. The state considers a ratio of 65% to be quite bad, and we're actually probably heading even lower as time goes on. I'm estimating that a citywide revaluation may cost up to $175,000 over 2 years, and I am suggesting at this point we pay that out of undesignated funds, and thus it will not affect taxation. City Hall is in serious need of interior and exterior renovation. For fiscal year 26, I'm estimating $5,000 in design expenses, since we do not know the ultimate cost. This again, I'm trying to pay out of undesignated funds and will not affect taxation. Our older 2008 Sterling dump truck needs replacing. It's rusted out, and we are having trouble finding parts for it. I'm recommending financing that vehicle, which is right now estimated at $240,000 at 4.9, and doing so at 4.9% for 5 years will result in a payment taken from taxation of $55,282 starting in fiscal year 27. So it has no effect on fiscal year 26 taxation, but it is a future commitment for the following 5 years. This cost may be offset somewhat from the sale of the old vehicle, but I've not budgeted any proceeds from such a sale. Finally, the cemetery will need a new mower in fiscal year 26 at an estimated cost of $7,000, but this will be paid out of income from the Cemetery Perpetual Care Fund and will not affect taxation. So as proposed, none of the capital projects affect taxation and therefore don't appear in the budget summary, because the budget summary is only for what is funded from taxation. The sewer budget, it's handled separately because it's not paid from taxation either, but it's paid by the ratepayers. We set that budget at the same time as the municipal budget. After several years of running the sewer budget at an acknowledged deficit, we made a large adjustment this past year, 15%, which was intended to bring the sewer into balance, and it did so. As inflation continues to affect all our budgets, we do still need to propose a rate change this year to keep sewer from falling back into deficit, but that increase is much more reasonable. My current estimate right now is 4.55%, which is more or less on par with that of overall taxation. Let me stop there for some questions. My next 2 sections will discuss a couple of organizational changes I made to the budget and some things I chose not to include. But if council has anything they need me to clarify at this point, I'll move on.
I think it's very well done, Brian,
Okay.
and I thank you for that report. Now I'm going to let you finish unless any councilor has anything, questions.
So,
Welcome, AJ.
I'm sorry. Good.
Welcome, AJ.
Yeah.
Just got out of work.
No, that's okay. Welcome.
The summary budget and the message I'm reading are going to be posted on the website after tonight's meeting. Realistically, it'll show up sometime tomorrow. It will also be available at City Hall. I want to note, for people who may read it then, I've made some changes to how we organize the presentation of the budget. The format we use when we've been publishing it in the newspaper combined and split accounts for various reasons I don't necessarily understand. I found it very confusing to assemble. It actually made our tax commitment process difficult, and due to errors on my part, we actually had to resubmit it after we had submitted it there. So I've reorganized it to be simpler. Mostly that means I don't combine line items from places. I've broken out some other things, but that does mean if you try to compare it to what was printed last year, you're going to have trouble doing so unless you sit down with me, because I'll show you where things got moved. But I wanted to prepare people for that. I want to point out two other major changes that don't affect taxation, but do affect how I'm reporting this. The process for accounting for fuel purchases at the airport has been typically part of the city budget, and it's been done inconsistently for years. Last year, I included both the expense for fuel, which I estimated $55,000, but then also included a compensating $55,000 in revenue, so it's zeroed out. I'm not including either of those this year. The fuel fund is kind of a closed system. The money that goes into it can only be spent at the airport. The money that is spent, it has to be spent at the airport. The fuel reserve is about 70, it was between 70 and 80,000 the last time I looked. Money that goes in and out of that account never touches taxation and should never be funded by taxation. So to include those numbers here inflates what the core expense is to the taxpayer, so I've removed it from this budget. Similarly, when we financed, last year we budgeted for, I said the airport and fire, the sewer and public works for 2 vehicles last year. And because of recommendations from a previous auditor, I included a capital line on the expense side, but a loan proceeds side on the revenue side. Once again, they were the same and canceled out. That makes it difficult to compare year to year what you're actually spending for your core public works, right? The one year you have a vehicle, it peaks with this big number. Going forward, I anticipate we will track these expenses in capital accounts and a capital plan. And so I've removed them from the fiscal year 25 numbers so you can compare my fiscal year 26 numbers without me having to explain every time. No, it's public works hasn't really gone down, it's just we're not buying a truck this year, kind of thing. And of course, with any of this, I'm sure there will be questions. I'm happy to go through it in detail. My head is full of budget right now. All right, there are 2 areas in the past year where I've been asked about increasing services. Those are winter sidewalk plowing and full-time police department staffing. I've included neither of them in this budget. As my priority is stability, I didn't feel comfortable unilaterally adding any additional service that would make a significant impact on the budget. The Budget Committee or Council, of course, maybe we should consider them. Winter sidewalk plowing, what I want to do now is give you a quick view of what I saw for those numbers, so we have some idea of the context we're talking about. Winter sidewalk plowing is a new service. It would require equipment, maintenance, and staffing. The equipment cost isn't backbreaking. Assuming it was a $75,000 piece of equipment, buying it outright would add 2.1% to this year's budget. That would make a 6.44% increase. Financing it for 5 years would add about $15,000 per year for each of those years. It's about 0.5% going forward. However, I can't recommend purchasing equipment without being certain we'll have staff to operate it. We're down 1 public works employee as it is. The weather of the last few weeks shows that with our current staffing is only sufficient for road plowing, and barely that. My position is that the city wants to be responsible for sidewalk plowing seriously and be able to execute on that commitment. We would need to add another public works employee, which would add between $70,000 to $80,000 per year in payroll benefits and associated costs. That's about 2 to 2.2% on top of the equipment costs.
You're talking a 4th person.
There'd be 2 people you'd have to add. You've got to replace one and hire another.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm adding a
Right.
position then. I'm sorry, not a person, but adding a position.
So you'd have to have 2 more people.
Yeah. So yeah, supervisor and 3 workers. Now, by providing these estimates, I don't mean to rule out the possibility that there could potentially be other approaches to the problem that would have lower impact on taxation, but it does represent my estimate of what the service would cost if the choice was to provide it solely by the city. Similar to the question of whether we wish to have 24/7, 365 staffing at the police department's an old one. I won't go through all the arguments for or against tonight, but I'll note that going to full staffing would add similarly about $85,000 to $95,000 to the budget in payroll benefits and associated costs. That's 2.3 to 2.5% on top of if we did it this year. There are a couple of potential options I've spoken with the chief about. If either council or budget committee wants to pursue this, we can talk over all those details later.
Has there been any interest expressed? Like,
I mean,
there's a shortage of police
I'm
officers.
interested. I'll put it that way.
No, has anybody applied?
Oh, we don't have an open position. I believe we would be able to fill an additional police position at this time, but we're not advertising for one. Finally, want to note from right back at the beginning, the charter asked me to present a proposed 3-year plan. At this stage, I can only present this 1-year plan. We're not in that position yet. In the coming year, I'm hoping we'll have a little more visibility, and I'm hoping maybe the budget committee will help be willing to work after we finish this process on the capital plan as well, because that's a 5-year plan required by charter that I don't know when it was last presented. I certainly don't have one to refer to. So I look forward to working with the budget committee in the coming months. I hope our experience will be much more pleasant this year than it was last year. The charter specifies that the committee shall make its report on the annual budget for the ensuing fiscal year to the council on or before May 1st, and I don't want to presume to speak for the committee, but I don't see any reason we can't hit that deadline. And that's my budget.
It's a lot of work in that budget, Brian.
Yeah, that's a job.
That is.
There's no need for action. I'll be carrying this to the budget committee tomorrow. They'll be meeting, and we'll come back in a couple months with what we can come up with.
Maybe first meeting tomorrow. Budget.
I know, that's okay.
Oh, you what?
Tomorrow is the budget meeting?
Tomorrow's the budget
schedule
meeting?
Oh, no. I will forward this on to them tomorrow.
Oh,
They were talking about potentially trying to meet next week at some point, just have their organizational meeting. But that's up to them. That's the committee's call. I will answer their call whenever they give it to me. But, yeah.
again, Brian, I thought it was very well done. A couple points just to bring up if I could, because I know it's going to be a question soon hitting probably all of us. Are we looking at budgeting anything for roads?
So, yeah, and I didn't bring all my details with me right now, but this is one of those things I'm still trying to figure out. We have a $20,000 line, $20,000 roads line in the public works budget, which has typically been used mostly for culvert work and that kind of thing. You guys approved at the last meeting some limited road work that will come out of that line, and also what's called the public works infrastructure line, which was at 90. I'm going to say 92,000, but something like that. And I'm retaining that line. My belief is, looking at that now, that line was maybe intended to build a capital reserve, in fact, and should have gone to reserves. For the coming year, since I don't know what our reserve thing is, I'm intending to try to use that 92,000 for roads. I'll be talking with Howie about that. The problem with roads actually right now is making sure you get in queue for the pavement. We also haven't identified what our next set of targets is. An awful lot of the roads are going to require being ground down. We've topped it too often, and I don't have any estimate on that right now. I think this time next year, I'll be prepared to talk about a 5 to 10 year plan on roads, whether we want to talk bonding, whether we want to talk infrastructure loans from the USDA, anything like that, trying to figure out how to fund it. But this is really something that needs to be planned out with like a 20-year plan, both to redo them, but to think about what your maintenance is going to be going forward. It's the lack of any maintenance any year that gives us in trouble. But
Okay, and I guess the only other thought I have, or comment that I have is, are we actively seeking grants, and do we have any kind of grant committee or grant writer, or should we look at trying to acquire a grant writer? And not knowing where the federal government is right now, I know he's squawking every dollar he can, but
yeah.
I didn't know whether we should be exploring the idea of maybe trying to hire a Island Institute person or somebody to help us write grants. And I think grant writers can pretty much pay their own salary out of the grants. Yeah.
I have not considered that right now, and that's mostly just due
Well, I know you're
to my
comparing the
bandwidth.
budgets.
But, it's certainly Sunrise County Economic Council keep coming to me. I keep getting email, broadcasts from them about various things that are coming up. And it has been difficult, and they would be able to help us with some of this, even writing some of it. But yeah, it's been difficult to find the time to be able to think strategically. However, yeah, so I can't tell you if it makes sense to hire a grant writer at this point. I don't know exactly even how I would manage them. But I'm going to take that under advisement as we discuss this and see if that's something worth doing. And I'll talk with the SCEC. They are extremely open about wanting us to be able to come to them for help. I mean, we are, for example, we've been pursuing stuff. The Energy Committee, thanks to Jeannie Peacock, has been doing a lot of grants. We're looking at more energy efficiency sorts of things. Infrastructure grants, I'll be honest, we may have missed the boat on that. There was a lot of infrastructure that came out the last 4 years, and the city wasn't able to act on it, and that was all federal, so I don't know where that's going to go. Great, grant funding has got to be an important part of our strategy, if only because, we all pay our federal taxes, we should be getting our portion of it back. So.
Excuse me, didn't we have somebody volunteer one time at a meeting?
I think Bob O'Hara was one.
Yeah.
Laura Stanzik was
There
another.
may have been a few others I'm not recalling, but they...
I know they all raised their hands, said they'd be willing to help, but
One thing that would be important, particularly if we had a committee, but even with the grant writer front, even just with me, is where should our priority go? There's a lot of funds for a lot of different things. I don't want to put any sort of, I don't want to be in any way negative about the idea of going with grants. I will point out, of course, grant management is an issue. And that nobody's offering, well, that's not true. Some of the things that SCEC do, they will help manage. We're right in the middle right now of dealing with the sidewalk grant, which because we couldn't manage it, it's gone on for 5 years or something without anything being done on it. So maybe we pick this conversation up when we finish this budget process and see where we're at that point. But it's, like I said, I'm hoping to move from, 6 months ago I was just still panicking to get my head into the job. Now I feel like I'm able to talk intelligently about tactical stuff. Give me another 6 months and we can talk strategy.
yeah, okay, just keep it in the back of our mind.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot of funding out there, and I think if we just applied, we'd be getting it.
Yeah,
But
keep in mind,
resources, you
a
gotta
fair
have
amount of
people.
grants may also require matching funds, which is again why we need a capital fund that we know how much money is in there, because that's what you would draw on for that.
All right. Any other questions, comments of the manager? Hearing none, we'll go on to 5F, schedule and set dates for the following public hearings. F1 is the sale of city property ordinance. F2 is remote participation policy. F3 is City of Eastport motor vehicle ordinance. Do them one, do them separate, do them all together? What do
We
you
should probably
want?
do them, I'm sorry.
I have questions. Have you reviewed all of these?
Yes.
And you're okay with all of them?
With the first two, yes. The second one has some tweaking that needs to be done because, well, there's some outdated stuff in there.
You said, I'm sorry, which one are you referring to?
The motor vehicle ordinance.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, where did that come from anyway?
I don't know the answer to
That came
that.
from me, from the city, from the citizens of Eastport. They wanted that on there.
The citizens brought it to you?
Yes.
Who wrote
Because
this? I mean,
It's two people in town that wrote this. They wanted to be called the Citizens Initiative. And back in October, when Earl agreed to put that to vote, the ATV issue, I said I may be bringing an ordinance up myself. I didn't bring it up. I just put it on the agenda. This is only a public hearing, so that this is a draft, so that we all can work on this and get this to where we want this. What I'm hearing, I don't know whether anybody else is hearing it, but I'm hearing from my constituents is in another 12 to 14 months, I don't want to be dealing with the ATV issue again.
Right.
We got other things to deal with. That's what I'm hearing. I think this will address that. I'm concerned, I'm not so much on the ATV issue, dead set one way or the other. I want what the people want. I'm more concerned with, like Earl said, that Seaview can't use a golf cart. That's a business. Why can't he use his golf cart to operate his business? And I'm not going to use Rossport. Why can't he use that vehicle up there to operate his business? That's what that ordinance is going to address. It's going to allow these things to happen if the people want it. If they don't, vote it down.
Can I just raise a point of process here, just to make sure everyone knows where we're at with this? So because these two are ordinances, the ordinance process is defined by charter, and the way an ordinance comes forward is that a counselor brings it forward and a public hearing is scheduled. Right? So just to be clear, there's no vote or anything else happening here.
Well, I know tonight,
Just making sure the public
I
knows what
just,
we're
you
dealing with.
know.
The policy we're doing, when we get to it, also falls under that just because of state statute.
So what's your concerns with it, Dennis?
Well, there's a couple of things that are outdated and have changed as a matter of state law. Including the authority position for in section 3 there's this ordinance is enacted pursuant to Home Rule Municipalities Title 30 of the Maine Revised Statutes. That was repealed approximately 35 years ago. It exists in a different place, but so there's some things that are out of the state statute that need to be tweaked like that.
So after the public
correction of
hearing,
reference.
yep.
So should it be tweaked before the public hearing, or?
Well, it should be tweaked now or before the public hearing, but certainly before you vote on it.
So I believe what you could do is after public hearing, you could amend it. I believe the charter, I have my charter over there. I believe the charter says if there's if the changes are substantive or something like that, it would need to go to a second public hearing. You would get to decide if you felt it was substantive. So like what you've raised, Dennis, might not.
Yeah,
You just have to correct that.
I don't think I have anything.
So that wouldn't need to be done before the public hearing, but if someone saw something where they wanted to change the intent of a section or something, that might require.
Yeah,
a
I
second.
don't think I had anything that was would
I
reach
think-
substantial.
Yeah.
So does this eliminate, like, somebody in a wheelchair, electric wheelchair? Am I reading that right? Like somebody, I know we have people in town that use a wheelchair in the road because there's no sidewalk, so does this prohibit them from doing that?
No, I think it specifically allows it.
Yeah.
I think just the opposite. It specifically allows that to occur.
I was confused.
Yeah, it sort of confuses you, like electric bikes,
Well, that was a question that I had, because I don't know what
Electric
these new electric bikes
yeah,
can
They
do
can
for
exceed the
speed
speed
and
limits
all of
that they're
that.
listed here.
yeah.
Where they kind of fit into that, and whether those definitions that are in this are up to date too.
Yeah, I get no problem with someone riding an electric bike or a golf cart, but I'm just saying, just,
Well, I had one yesterday telling me that he does 28 miles an hour on his electric bike down Washington Street, which is 25 miles an hour. So do we write him a ticket?
Depending on the models, they can get up to 40, I'm told.
buying the helmet. Believe me, I was only going 15 and
Oh, yeah.
I'm still suffering.
You were on a motorcycle, though, weren't you? You were on an electric bike. And I mean, this also,
10 miles an hour.
I've gotten questions, I don't even know what some of these things are called.
10.
But, and I know, Dave, I'm not trying to pick on your son, but he rides around that, what is it, one balancing thing?
One wheel.
Yeah, that thing. Is that a motor vehicle? I have no idea.
I don't believe those.
And does it come under the scooter? Because I guess we have a scooter skateboard ordinance for downtown already.
Yeah.
So can you ride that down through town?
I would say
I
that's a
think for
scooter
me,
or a
this
skateboard.
raises more questions than answers.
So I mean, do you want to rather not do a public hearing, but do a workshop on it?
Yes.
And clean it up and
Yeah.
then do a public hearing on it?
I just,
I mean, I'm game
Rather
for
Dennis go
whatever.
through it first and
I'd
then.
rather.
I'm in agreement that we need to settle the ATV issue, though. Can't keep coming up. We've got to do something.
Well, I mean, the law is pretty clear, so.
Yeah, I think,
Are you able to?
I'm at council's will,
Are you
whatever they
able
want to do.
to? So
I'm
are you-
comfortable.
I guess I'm imagining that a workshop is held outside the council meeting. Is that necessarily the case?
that's
So I think if you want to schedule a workshop tonight, you need to pick a time and a date.
Yeah. But there's no votes and there's no, it's just
Right.
everybody brainstorms and comes up with corrections and ideas and thoughts and changes things and the majority votes and they rework it and then they bring it to a public hearing.
Nothing about ATVs, you know, I'll never bring that up again. I really won't. But you just don't want to tie people's hands on other things like electric bikes and stuff. You know, if they're obeying the law, I mean, you don't want to tie their hands on this. People's got to live in this town, you know. You can't tie their hands. You know, like I said, I'll never bring an ATV up again myself, but you can't make this just a town that you can't move in either, you know.
Yeah,
I didn't read
I'm
it
not
that
seeing
way.
it that way, but
You know, I'm just saying, you know, they
I
got to
guess
obey
they-
the law, but, you know, you've got to, I read it, you know, maybe that, you know, like you said, like skateboards and things, people got to be able to use that stuff. You know?
well, I know, but they have no authority to stop people from using them in certain areas. And I was not even involved on the council at the time. I think it was Eleanor Norton
Yeah.
that wanted downtown barred from skateboards
That
Well,
was,
there-
because it was dangerous. They were hitting people.
that was 25 years ago when it
But
was
the
a
ordinance
different
is still
crowd.
there.
Yeah,
There
there was a different
was-
crowd back then.
I voted for that ordinance.
Okay. But they have no way to enforce it if there's no ordinance. All they can do is say, oh, well, there's no ordinance. So nothing we can do. But now you got electric scooters going down through town at 30, 40 miles an hour, not a skateboard. Is that enforceable? Can you do anything? I don't know what the law is.
You might want to consider too allowing the police department to join in on your workshop to bring to the table whatever.
That was going to be my next question. Have they looked at, has our chief looked at this?
Yeah.
Yes, I believe the chief looked at this one and John Francis. And I think the only, I'm not going to speak for him, I can't. I can't remember what he said.
Yeah, I haven't spoken to him about it.
Yeah, and I have no problem bringing them in. I just want it clean and presented the way it's supposed to be done. I put it on the agenda because I certainly didn't want to bring it up under council liaison, so I can tell you that. No,
No, you brought it up the right way.
that's just the way. And I don't know whether if we go ahead with a public hearing and we're not changing it that drastic, or how many flaws there is in it. That's the legal part, not mine.
I'd be comfortable in making a motion for the first two and then having Dennis and the chief of police, you know, come up with something that is presentable for a public hearing.
So essentially table the third one for the
Yes.
next meeting.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a couple of things in there that are kind of technical that I don't know the answers to, like the electric bike and the electric scooter thing. I mean, my only experience with an electric scooter was one that I had in Athens, and that would go 60 miles an hour. I mean,
I have never been on one either. I know they go like a,
I mean, you wouldn't catch me going on the highway with it, but there were people on the highway with them. So.
I don't have a problem with that, Colin. That's
Okay, so
very
I'll make a
reasonable, I
motion.
think.
So can I go ahead and make the
Go
motion?
ahead.
Well, if I would, just so the people in the public know we're talking about, do you mind if I talk about the first two that are on there as well?
Okay, sure.
So I am bringing forward, but I'm asking the council to propose an ordinance, two potential ordinances. One is a replacement for the existing sale of city property ordinance. I talked about this at the last meeting, not to beat a dead horse, but the existing sale of city property ordinance is not in compliance with the current Maine statute that was put in place after Tyler versus Hennepin County, which the specific problem with that ordinance that brings out compliance is it suggests you can go to sealed bid on a foreclosed property, which is no longer true. Maine state statute requires you to attempt to sell it to a realtor 3 times, 3 different realtors, and if they all fail, then you can go to sealed bid. So that was the first thing to address. The second one is the existing sale of city property ordinance binds the council when attempting to sell to the previous owner, the person who has lost the property. If the previous owner is resident, it forces the council to attempt to enter into a repayment agreement. This was agreed on in 2019 with no infrastructure for how to manage the agreements or anything else. And it prohibits you from entering into any such agreement with a non-resident owner. This leads to a number of problems, and it leads to some kind of weirdly paradoxical things that happen now, because if you don't sell back to the previous owner, put it out to sale, they buy it from the realtor, any extra money they make ends up going back to them anyway. It makes us jump through hoops and pay a realtor where it's not necessary. So my planned draft basically defers everything to the state statute, takes it back to just saying, follow the statute as it's written. I retained one element, which was that the city has, it has in the current ordinance a requirement that any sale of property go through a public hearing first, and I retained that for the purpose of bringing that forward. The second one is remote participation in public proceedings. This came up after I had an inquiry from a citizen. I won't go into the details of that, but in following through on it, I discovered that we actually are not in compliance with state law when it comes to remote participation, and participation in this case means members of a body. In the previous year, we had a couple of times where I believe Dave and Jeannie participated remotely without there being an appropriate policy in place. The state permitted remote participation during COVID, of course, lifted all restrictions on it, but the state in general has viewed direct democracy as something we do in person. And so now requires that if you're going to allow that thing to happen, that you have a policy for it. The policy I brought forward is the MMA template policy with a couple of things I picked up from South Portland and Milton's policy. The primary things it does is it does not permit remote participation by the council. And part of the reason I put that in place is I think I've discussed with all of you. Once a member of a body is allowed to participate, the public needs to be able to participate remotely as well. We're just simply not technically set up to do that. So long as the council does not participate remotely, we're fine. We can continue to broadcast if you want. There's no statutory requirement that you provide Zoom at all. But that way it's clear what the boundary is there. However, we have subcommittees that rely on remote participation. Airport, disability, energy, housing, I think still is going on. I don't know if they're still doing it, but for that reason, I have not prohibited them. It's also easier for them. We obviously have a bigger setup here that makes it more difficult. For a regular subcommittee, you can stick a USB thing on the table and you're fine. I've added a couple of things. I've suggested the council should approve the use of remote methods by any committee. That's because I think it's important for us to keep track of who's using them. If there was a request for an accommodation or something else, that would fall back on us to make sure it got done. I'm making sure that only city accounts are used. In other words, nobody uses a private Zoom account, and that we have control over the Zoom account that's being used. We had some issues with making sure that we got recordings done properly and whatnot. I put that in place. I'm sorry it's so long, but part of that's because we do have two different groups that I'm trying to put together. I do allow the city council, as I've written this, if you want to, to meet by Zoom only, should we, God forbid, have another pandemic or something truly catastrophic and we needed to have some sort of remote participation. We could all do it on Zoom, and that would make things easier. And again, all of this will come to public hearing, can be discussed, amended, and whatnot. But we are currently, theoretically, not supposed to permit remote participation, but after discussion with MMA, there's no reason to stop what we're doing right now. There's no concern as long as we're working towards an appropriate policy, and that's why I'm bringing that forward today.
And you actually do have a policy for allowing counselors to participate by remote participation. I was able to find when it was enacted, but I was not able to find the actual wording of it. But it came from, it was enacted in 2016. Yeah, and my recollection is that it allowed counselors to participate, by phone or Zoom wasn't a thing yet in 2016, but I think Skype might have been. And you were allowed to do that for up to 3 times in the course of a year, and there had to be a majority physically present, so everybody couldn't just have a conference call.
So Nick, that's a policy. I think I've said in previous meetings, we sometimes use the word policy to mean something. That's something that's less intense than an ordinance and doesn't need to go to public hearing, but this is a policy that the state requires, and the state requires you go to the public hearing. So that's why I'm bringing it.
Yeah, after the pandemic ended, the state sort of preempted how that needs to be done.
And to be clear, I think a town meeting cannot be done by Zoom, cannot be done by proxy, that sort of thing. So that's still the bias, I guess, to state that it's better to be there than not.
So is this going to address the issues of Zoom? Zoom can be used by subcommittees, but if we choose, council chooses not to do Zoom anymore other than to caption, does that preclude the subcommittees from using Zoom?
As written, it does not, no. This I've written has, I'll just read a little bit of it. Members of the body, this is for bodies other than the city council, must be physically present for public proceedings at a public meeting location except when authorized to participate by remote methods under this policy. And that the authorization is the council would need to approve the use of remote methods by each body. So yes, Energy Committee, you can use remote methods. But it also gives you the opportunity to say no, that they wouldn't be able to.
No, they're not being able to participate by Zoom, or no, we're not allowed to have Zoom?
Not be able to participate by Zoom. There is nothing in this there's nothing in this here that controls whether Zoom is used essentially as, I think, as public access, right, as broadcast as we use it here today. There's nothing to either, that doesn't require specific authorization by the state, and this policy as written does not give any power to deny it either.
All right. Still just as clear as mud.
To be clear, I guess there's an indirect way. So this requires that any use of Zoom by a subcommittee be using city accounts. If the city no longer using an account or no longer want to give access to it, you can control that.
But for instance, like the school board doesn't do Zoom.
Right, and actually, to be clear,
So-
the school board is treated separately under this statute. They can make their own rules.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know why that is. I don't know if Dennis, you have any vision to why the school committee had to carve out, but they do.
Wow.
Other than some of the large Aroostook County administrative units that, one end to the other might be 70 or 80 miles.
I mean, they're allowed to set their own policies, but for some reason, they're not required to have this policy in place. And that's why my preamble talks about all the boards that are covered, and all it says is city council, I then enumerate all the boards that are listed in the charter, and then say all ad hoc committees, school committees on this.
So Brian, I have a question. When I was reaching out today to the committees and the chairs and whatnot, the Digital Equity Committee, she uses her own Zoom account.
That we would no longer permit that going forward.
Okay, so that'll change.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to be clear.
Assuming this passes, again, keeping in mind,
Okay,
we
yeah.
are merely bringing this up for discussion today.
Yeah.
All we're scheduling is the public hearing.
Okay.
Nothing has been enacted, and I'm not intending to interfere with anyone's process until it is.
Right.
All right, so we ready for any kind of motions?
I'll make a motion that we set a public hearing for the sale of the city property ordinance and the remote participation policy. And do we have a date? You gonna,
That's
Can we do it
it's
at
your
the next
motion, so.
council meeting?
at the next
And
meeting?
The next council meeting is March 12th.
At the March 12th meeting.
Is that
I'd second
what
that.
you're looking? Okay. Is there a second?
It was
Yeah,
Ron.
well,
Oh, she didn't, so.
We're doing that before the council meeting, after the council meeting?
And typically, we do those first, right? Do we need to determine where it is in the agenda? It may depend on what items we have.
Well, if you're going to vote on it, you'd want to do it first.
Fair enough. I don't have a strong opinion.
If you're going to try to vote on something, you don't want to do it at the end, do you?
For next month?
Yeah,
Yeah, they're usually at the beginning.
Usually they're at the.
Yeah, usually do them at the beginning.
very beginning, okay. Any other questions, concerns on the motion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilor Dana Cummings.
Yes.
Councilor Moran.
Yes.
Councilor Seeley.
Yes.
Councilor Stevens.
Yes.
Councilor Boone.
Yes.
So did we decide on a workshop or to have the police and Dennis look at the motor vehicle?
I think we did both. I don't know which one you want though. I thought we were leaving up to Dennis and
That was.
To clean up the law end of it, I guess.
Table it,
Is it-
Bill?
Motion to table then?
Motion to table till next month?
Yeah.
Is that enough time?
Vote of
Is
your
that
board.
enough time?
Is that,
If it isn't, we'll ask you to table it again.
Yeah,
Okay.
motion to
We'll try.
table until next meeting? And I don't know who made, I think Rhonda made the motion.
Okay,
I
yes.
don't know who
I absolutely
seconded it.
did.
I'll second.
Thank you both.
Here for-
Any further comment, any further questions or concerns on the motion? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Counselor Dana Cummings?
Yes.
Counselor Moran?
Yes.
Counselor Steele?
Yes.
Counselor Stevens?
Yes.
Counselor Boone?
Yes. All right, March 12th, okay. We're on 5G, discussion of the 2025-2026 AOS 77 budget, which is hot on the press.
They could save their colored printer from not doing it in orange.
Is this for Brian McCouncil to discuss, or?
I believe
I don't know.
Councilor Dana Cummings brought it up, and
I asked to put it on the agenda.
Okay.
Just because the numbers have increased dramatically. I think we just need to be aware of those numbers. I think in the past, we haven't really been paying that much attention to the AOS, and I think we need to start because there's a couple of schools, well, I can't speak for the schools, but there's a couple towns talking about withdrawing. If they do withdraw, we have to absorb the cost of all these, of this budget. I think we need to be aware of that.
But didn't they also say if they withdraw, they are still committed for 5 years?
If you look at, there was a lawsuit, when Callis withdrew, the judge in that case, I don't have it with me, but it's in the Quaddy Tides, the judge in that case ruled that the AOS cannot commit, like a town, to those numbers. AOS is totally separate and can't commit each town to whatever that was committed, if I'm saying that right.
So as we're looking at the numbers, are you considering us pulling out of the AOS? Is that what?
I don't want to. I would like to see the numbers, stay in check. And I don't know. I don't want to withdraw because I think it would cost us more.
That's what I'm,
Yeah, but
Okay,
we
the
need to
superintendent.
do something because the costs each year, the last 2 years, have gone up quite a bit.
What was your feelings on that meeting in Pembroke when they set the date? Did they talk anything about the budget, or did they kind of just skim it over, just saying
They
it's
didn't
coming up?
really- Yeah, they just set the dates, and which is February 26th, 6 o'clock at Pembroke School. Everybody's should go and vote. And yeah, they didn't really discuss it. But I know Charlotte, the few people in Charlotte that were active in closing the school are actively talking about withdrawing because all their kids go to Callis. I know that's not much. That's 50, I don't have it in front of me, but
Well, any loss is a loss,
yeah.
and it's got to be absorbed by the remaining people.
there are some in Pembroke too. I think there are a couple in Barry
There's
Students that are remote,
from Charlotte.
yeah.
it's a couple at the point too.
And Lubeck's not happy, theirs went up the most. So I don't know, I just want us to be aware of it. I don't want it to come as a shock if something does happen.
Just refresh me a little, because I know you were with me, and Dennis, I believe, was a moderator at the last one I attended at the high school. I wasn't clear, is it allowed for every taxpayer to vote?
Yes,
So it's
Yeah.
not just select persons or
Any
anything like that?
resident, any registered voter in any of the towns in the AOS can.
They have a right to vote.
Yes.
They have a
Okay.
right to vote. See, I didn't know that.
I
That was
didn't
my first
either.
time
And
there.
I think the only three from Perry was the only three that said no to everything.
Yep.
And they got slammed down as quickly as they opened their mouth, but I think things are changing. And I agree with Colleen that I think it's 219,000 over a 2-year period is, wow.
I have a question as to where they are in the process. It was my understanding that the upcoming meeting was for the AOS board to approve the
No,
budget.
They approved it December.
They approved it already?
It was
Okay.
presented and approved on the same day.
Yeah, they put the first draft out and voted
Okay.
on it.
Because it's unusually early for them to be having an actual vote on their budget.
Well, I think it's a good thing because each town then knows what, that part of the
Yeah.
budget is anyway.
Yes, except for there is no idea where the state comes down because the state hasn't passed its budget.
So how are they gonna vote on that?
I don't understand how they're going to have even the remotest clue what their revenue is going to be.
But Dan, my principal said that they've already issued how much each school is gonna get. He pulled out a form and told us what we're getting and what Eastport's getting.
Well,
Projected.
yeah, that's because, I mean, the state budget is only in its infancy.
Have valuations even been set? I have the draft ones from like 4 months ago, but I haven't seen the final ones come out yet. Anyway, that's secondary.
Those actually, don't those usually come out in December?
My
For
first
the-
time
for the value-
at this rodeo, I might have missed.
For the valuations, but I don't know how they're going to even have a clue as to what their revenue is going to be from the state. I suppose they could be projecting it based on the governor's budget, but that's not anywhere. Well, the governor's budget did come out of the appropriations committee. Was it approved today? I haven't seen news today, so yeah, it's possible.
So according to this little form, we're increased by 5,000 this year over last year.
That's correct. It's not that large, relatively speaking. Part of
But
what
it will
happens
be a
there,
straw
though,
that drops out.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, that's just our share.
yeah.
And,
And
depending on.
that part of that's because they're predicting, I believe it's 5 fewer enrolled, and AOS budget is just parceled out on head count. So when your enrollment goes down, you actually pay less for the AOS. Of course, that's double-edged sword because you also lose subsidy based on that. So that's part of the reason I'm a little concerned about where the school budget will land tomorrow, but we'll see.
So, if I remember correctly, it's probably 3 years now I've done it. This is more like a town meeting. Where
Yes.
they put an article on the podium or whatever.
It's exactly what it is a town meeting.
This is what
This
will be
this here,
voted
like
on.
the,
Yeah.
that one. There's a lot of them are zero, but there's some that have got quite a few numbers with them. And, wow. And we don't even know what Eastport's doing.
But yeah, I just want to make sure everybody knows that, I don't know, Catherine, if you could point it out somehow, but everybody can go and vote.
Right.
And I don't think a lot of people realize that before.
I don't
No,
either.
first, so we have to check everything as well. Register with the clerk at the meeting.
Yeah, that's why the town clerks are all there to register voters if somebody wants to show up and vote.
Yep, yep.
Wasn't one of it, part of it budgeted to build a piece on to
Yeah.
Yes.
their office that they don't,
$10,000
That
to
will
put a
never-
little shed on.
that they don't own,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
that the AOS doesn't own,
Because they need more space again.
Yeah, so. It's,
I probably
Which
shouldn't
is-
say anymore.
Interesting, because
Shut
there's
up.
other empty space in that building.
That's what I mean, you know.
Well,
So you're encouraging people to go
Yes.
to the meeting tomorrow,
No, no, oh, the school
20.
board?
26.
26th?
26 is the AOS
Next
September.
Wednesday.
Yeah, but there is a school board meeting tomorrow night if there's,
Okay.
if there's the weather.
Oh, the
I don't know.
weather, that's right.
Yeah, if the weather's okay, I guess. And they will be presenting their school budget.
And as far as that's
What's
concerned, how much say do we have in their budget?
Eastport?
Yeah.
We have a lot. We vote on the budget.
And actually, maybe Dennis, you can help me. This is actually my first time around that. Obviously, your elected representatives on the school board are the first, or your first line of representation. Should that, they approve a budget that this body is unhappy with, I'm not sure what the formal recourse is. I know you've already,
So
this
we
council in the
said no,
past
they
has said they
have to
don't,
go back.
they're unhappy and they send it back, but I'm not sure. Can the city council reject the school county budget, say, school committee budget, say, nope, we're not paying that?
Yeah.
You can send it back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But normally the budget committee does
We
that.
have sent it back.
We've sent it back when I was on the council the
Oh,
first
But
time.
that's the local.
Yeah, those are, that's what we're talking
Right,
about.
Yeah, we've sent it back.
But I mean, they're like any other department, they're gonna come to the budget committee with their proposal.
Yeah.
Budget committee's gonna look it over and give
Yeah.
them a recommendation. So,
I would just like to mention though that, you know, back in, I think it was 2010, when we were required by law to join an AOS, right? It was supposed to be a cost savings. It was supposed to get rid of all this administrative costs. And, you know, in the beginning it did, but now the costs seem to be creeping up again. So I guess that's just why I wanted to bring it up.
Well, when
Less
those,
control.
superintendent.
when those laws were passed in the Baldacci administration, I don't remember exactly how many superintendents we had in Washington County, but afterwards we had exactly the same number of
Yeah,
superintendents in Washington County.
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's
But
where
we
the
are no
savings
longer
goes.
required to be a part of an AOS, right?
You weren't required to be a part of an AOS before. But you were, if you didn't have, the purpose of the AOS is to share those administrative expenses.
Cost,
You'd had to have your own superintendent.
cost you more.
We had our own here.
Yeah, but
No.
you're going to consolidate all the schools.
You never had your own superintendent. You had a superintendent that was shared with Pembroke, Perry, Robinson, and Charlotte,
Right,
Oh,
and
yeah.
Dennisville.
Union 104. Yeah,
But you'd have been required to have your own superintendent, your own
Why don't we just-
bus coordinator, your own, all of the stuff that's in that office.
Education.
did we ever go with Callis? Did we ever belong to Callis?
Well, Callis belonged to this AOS at one point,
So we
but
didn't belong to them.
no.
Oh, okay.
Although you sort of may have thought that you did because they bullied their way into, when that sort of merger occurred, there was, Eastport's superintendent was the more experienced and all of that, but Callis got the superintendent. Callis' superintendent became the superintendent of the AOS.
I just didn't know whether we, prior to AOS, we were up in Callis. We belonged to Callis and we separated, but
So briefly, we were down one superintendent, that one.
yeah.
But after
Yeah, no.
Callis bugged out, then we have the same number of superintendents as we did before.
Well, thank you, Colleen, for your willingness to go to those meetings and willingness to tell everybody to get out and vote. I don't think a lot of people knew that. I don't think a lot of residents knew
realize
that
that.
they could go vote.
No, they don't.
And I think a lot of them will, because they don't have it. They don't have tax dollars to, yeah, they don't have it.
Typically, those in attendance for voters are teachers. They're the majority of the voters that I've seen at those meetings.
Well, I don't know, maybe
Are
it's
you
just
the
not
moderator this
publicized
year?
enough.
I know they haven't said anything, so.
He may decline. You can look at his room burst.
Well, that's,
I know.
also typically they call that day and say, oh, can you be the moderator? And it's like, well, maybe, probably, I don't know.
How much of a raise is in there for me? Yeah, I understand. All right, not enough discussion on the AOS budget 2025-26. Hearing no other comments, we'll move to item 6, minutes from previous meetings. January 8, 2025. Need a motion to accept?
I'll motion to accept those minutes.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilor Dana Cummings?
Yes.
Councilor Moran?
Yes.
Councilor Seeley?
Yes.
Councilor Stevens?
Yes.
Councilor Boone?
Yes. Item 7, city manager's report.
I've probably done more than enough talking. I just want to acknowledge, we're in one of these weather patterns now where we're sending the plows out every 3 days, something like that. It's just kind of nuts, and having lost someone in the department, we've had, I know we've had Earl step up, and Howard Johnson the first has been out there. There may be more, I'm not sure, but they're doing the best they can. I think they're doing a great job out there. Here's hoping after tomorrow, and then also on Sunday, things will start.
That keeps decreasing, so
So
it's
start
looking
getting
better
a little
for
bit
us.
better for us, but I just want to acknowledge the amount of time they're putting in. And maybe point out, you know, across the city, I describe it sometimes as having a skeleton crew. What I mean by that is, you know, we lost one guy, we've got a couple of other folks in. One of those folks gets sick, something like that, we're down to 2 people plowing, and that'll take a long time. So I don't see us changing that anytime soon, but I'd like to reiterate that some of the time, and you realize we're providing I think a pretty excellent level of service with just barely enough.
How's the parking ban going?
Good. We had it was bumpy right at the beginning, as you'll recall. We had some issue with people not moving their cars, and with the new police chief and the reconstituted police department, Public Works and the police had to communicate a little bit better with each other about making sure we had people on to move people out. But I haven't heard a complaint from Howie about it the last few storms, so I think we got it.
Great. Thank you, Brian. Item 8, council liaison updates and issues. Good.
I need to get a schedule of when everyone meets so I can start.
I think Ella's working on that
We,
as we
I'm
speak.
working on it. I just finalized, we finalized it today, let's say Wednesday, so we could have it out to you tomorrow.
Didn't find
There
out.
are some that are, we're unsure, we just put that down there until, they're ones that are not active right now, so. But to assist you guys in your positions as council liaisons and council, we'll have that to you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay.
The only 2 liaison issues comments I have is the airport is still gearing up for June 14th, the grand opening out there. Getting some politicians in, hopefully with deep pockets, and I probably shouldn't have said that, but either way I did. And we're just trying to get some other venues. They're talking some different types of planes. I guess we got one coming from Ontario. It was this Canvas, a young gal, and yeah, and I know Sam Whitmore, he indicated there's another one that's supposedly going to drop an American flag on Flag Day. Awesome. So yeah, so we got some good things happening there on that one, and the building is coming along. From what I can see on the Zoom, they got sheetrock up and they're doing some things inside, so we hope to have that pretty well wrapped up. The senior meeting was yesterday, senior citizen meeting. Thank you, Donna, for the lovely treasurer report. We have been looking at alternative sites. We're trying to zero in on a location without trying to put a lot of money into the building we have. But more to follow, I guess. All right. Nothing else under council liaison updates on issues? We'll go to item 9, public open forum. Just take you right in order. Hearing nothing, I guess we'll entertain a motion to go into executive session.
I have only one item in executive session, so I only need to move 4056E, consultation with legal counsel.
Okay. Do I have a motion to that effect?
I move to go into executive session at 7:19 for Title I MRSA 4056E.
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Counselor Dana Cummings.
Yes.
Counselor Moran.
Yes.
Counselor Seeley.
Yes.
Counselor Stevens.
Yes.
Counselor Boone.
Yes. Thank you all. I need a motion to come out of executive session.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it, 7:34.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Counselor Dana Cummings.
Yes.
Counselor Moran.
Yes.
Counselor Seeley.
Yes.
Counselor Stevens.
Yes.
Counselor Boone.
Yes. Any further executive session matters that we need to discuss?
Yes, I actually need a second executive session on personnel matters, please.
So I have a motion.
7:34, I move to go into executive session on Title I MRSA 4056A.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Counselor Dana Cummings.
Yes.
Counselor Moran.
Yes.
Counselor Seeley.
Yes.
Counselor Stevens.
Yes.
Counselor Boone.
Yes. We are.
I make a motion to go into executive session at 7:52.
A second.
Moved and seconded to come out of executive session. Any further discussion?
If I could, I'd like a motion to...
No, we gotta have a roll
Oh,
call.
here's-
Motion first.
Yes, I'm
It's
getting...
been a long day for you, Brian.
Yeah, it is.
Roll call, please.
Counselor Dana Cummings.
Yes.
Counselor Moran.
Yes.
Counselor Seeley.
Yes.
Counselor Stevens.
Yes.
Counselor Boone.
Yes.
Okay, so I'd look for a motion to approve a rate of $25 an hour for Megan Barrett on the energy grant, and to approve a $1 an hour raise for Jonathan Irvin.
Make that motion.
I'll second.
Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Counselor Dana Cummings.
Yes.
Counselor Moran.
Yes.
Counselor Seeley.
Yes.
Counselor Stevens.
Yes.
Counselor Boone.
Yes. I'm losing my train of thought. Yeah, I'm trying to write. Never mind, I'm gonna get it here. Okay. We're on the last item, item 12.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll
I
second.
believe
Look, do we want-
Councilor Stevens wanted to make a comment.
On the June meeting, the graduation at my school is always on the second Wednesday, which is a conflict with this meeting, which apparently is budget vote. Would it be possible to move that meeting day?
How about moving the graduation day? You got power.
No? Talk to his son.
I was just kidding.
Probably wouldn't,
And Shed's graduation is the week before, so even if we moved it a day before or a day after, it wouldn't be a
probably
conflict.
wouldn't, it wouldn't kill me probably to move it out a week. I would like to think budget will be done nice and early, but we've been known to have it stretch a bit. So going a
June
week later.
18th? June 18th?
I need to also check, make sure there's nothing going on in the state with elections too, so. I'll bring something back to you next month, Thursday.
Oh, there we go.
How's that?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Now I'm ready for your motion, Colleen.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
Further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Counselor Dana Cummings.
Yes.
Counselor Moran.
Yes.
Counselor Seeley.
Yes.
Counselor Stevens.
Yes.
Counselor Boone.
Yes, and Donnie, great job tonight. Thank
Yes.
you.
All right, we're out.
They're doing good.